Mike Vrabel didn't mince words, calling Kevin Stefanski a gimmick coach after the Browns' offense collapsed postscript. It wasn't just a jab, it was a public accusation that Stefanski lacks real adaptability once the script runs dry. That shot landed hard after the October 26 game, where Cleveland stumbled badly despite a strong opening. Vrabel's dig lit a fire under analysts and fans alike, forcing a harsh reassessment of Stefanski's strategies.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Critics aren't just questioning the loss, they're questioning his entire coaching identity. What followed wasn't just a PR crisis. It became a referendum on Stefanski's future in Cleveland. Fans who once backed him have grown disillusioned, especially as decision-making around the quarterback position continues to raise eyebrows. The refusal to start Shatter Sanders, despite his proven talent and leadership, is no longer seen as strategic. It's viewed as stubborn or worse, biased. The Browns' trajectory now hinges not just on performance, but on whether their coach can survive a storm of his own making. Kevin Stefanski just got dragged through the mud, and the timing couldn't be more poetic. Right after Mike Vrabel took a flamethrower to his reputation and called him a gimmick coach, everything that could have gone wrong did. From the game tape to the fan base, the Cleveland Browns head coach is under fire. And it's not just about one loss. It's about a pattern that's finally blowing up in his face. Let's start with what lit the match: the October 26th game between the Browns and the Patriots. Cleveland came out swinging. Their opening plays were sharp, calculated, almost too perfect, because they were. The offense looked confident during their scripted drive, like they had something to prove. And for a moment, it worked. But then, silence. As soon as the script ran out, the Browns fell apart. Adjustments? Nowhere to be found. Stefanski's play calling felt like a broken record, repeating ideas that didn't land the first time. And that's exactly where Mike Vrabel came in, cutting through the usual NFL politeness to call Stefanski what so many fans have whispered for seasons: a gimmick. It was brutal. It was public. And honestly, it struck a nerve. Because when you look at the evidence, especially the quarterback situation, it's hard to argue that Vrabel was wrong. Let's talk about that quarterback decision. Cleveland fans are still trying to figure out why Kevin Stefanski keeps trotting out Dylan Gabriel while leaving Shatter Sanders on the bench. Sanders has the talent. He has the leadership. He has the momentum. But for some reason, Stefanski continues to bet on Gabriel, even when it's costing them games. This isn't just a case of sticking with your guy. This is starting to look like stubborn favoritism. Or worse, a strategic blind spot that's actively hurting the team. And when that happens, you're not just making bad calls, you're eroding trust from the locker room all the way to the fan base. The fans are noticing. Social media is boiling over with frustration. Local sports radio? Non-stop criticism. People aren't just mad about losing, they're mad about how they're losing. The Browns aren't collapsing because of injuries or bad luck. They're collapsing because the coaching looks lost after the first 15 plays. And when you bench a star like Sanders without a clear reason, it becomes personal. That's the kind of decision that splits a team. That's the kind of move that alienates a fan base. And right now, Stefanski looks like a coach who's either out of touch, too prideful to pivot, or stuck playing a long game nobody asked for. The irony? This was supposed to be a redemption season. But instead of quieting critics, Stefanski gave them a megaphone. Then there's the media narrative. Coverage of the Browns has gone from cautiously hopeful to downright skeptical. Some analysts are straight up accusing the organization of pushing a biased, possibly scripted storyline, trying to justify Gabriel's starts and downplaying Sanders' abilities. It's not subtle, and it's not working. People aren't buying it anymore. The questions are growing louder. Why does Gabriel get infinite chances? Why is a clearly talented quarterback like Sanders being sidelined? What's really going on behind the scenes? At this point, it's not just Stefanski under the microscope. It's the entire Browns leadership. Because if the problem is coming from the top and coaching decisions are being shaped by personal biases or internal politics, then the rot goes deeper than play calling. Fans want transparency. They want results. And right now, they're getting neither. Back to Mike Vrabel. His comment wasn't just a spicy soundbite, it was a crack in the armor. By calling Stefanski a gimmick coach, he didn't just insult the strategy. He questioned the legitimacy of the entire coaching philosophy. And that kind of jab? It sticks. Because the results speak for themselves. When your offense can't adapt, when your team unravels mid-game, and when your best quarterback isn't even allowed to lead, what else do you call it? Stefanski's defenders are scrambling. Some argue he's playing the long game. Others claim Sanders isn't ready. But none of that changes the fact that, right now, the Browns look like a team at war with itself. And no one's winning. It's not just the losses. It's the confusion, the mixed signals, the constant cycle of hype, hope, and heartbreak. And the fans? They're done waiting. Stefanski is losing them fast. Every week, the criticism sharpens. The boos get louder. And the calls for change get harder to ignore. If you're a Browns fan, this isn't just frustrating, it's exhausting. Watching talent get wasted, watching decisions that make zero sense, and watching leadership that refuses to be held accountable. It's the same story over and over, and it's finally boiling over. Even the national media's starting to catch on. Analysts who once gave Stefanski the benefit of the doubt are now pointing to the same red flags fans have been screaming about. And with each passing game, the pressure builds. It's no longer just a tough season. It's a full-blown credibility crisis. And here's the twist. Stefanski could have flipped this. He had the tools. He had Shatter Sanders, a player with game-changing potential. He had a defense that was ready to fight. He had a city that wanted to believe. But instead of evolving, he doubled down. Instead of leading, he got stubborn. And now, he's in the center of a storm he helped create. This isn't just about a quarterback decision. It's about leadership, about vision, about whether a coach can grow with his team or drag them down with him. And right now, it looks like Stefanski's lost the plot. The Browns had a shot, but that window is closing fast. And with every tone-deaf decision, every awkward press conference, and every underwhelming Sunday, the damage spreads. The longer this goes on, the harder it'll be to course-correct. Players lose trust. Fans check out. The locker room fractures. And a franchise with real potential becomes just another cautionary tale. The fact that this all erupted right after Stefanski got publicly roasted, that's what makes it sting. Because the instant karma? It's real. Vrabel didn't just insult a coach. He sparked a conversation the NFL was already having behind closed doors. And now it's out in the open. Is Kevin Stefanski the guy who can take the Browns to the next level? Or is he just another coach riding out a system that doesn't work, hoping no one notices? Well, people have noticed. And unless something changes fast, this season won't just be forgettable. It'll be infamous. So what do you think? Was Mike Vrabel out of line? Or did he just say what everyone's been thinking? Is Stefanski holding this team back? Or is there something deeper going on in Cleveland's front office that we're not seeing? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We're reading everything. Don't forget to like this video if you're tired of gimmick coaches running good teams into the ground. And hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next meltdown. Because let's be real, this saga is far from over. The fallout from Vrabel's jab isn't just about bruised egos or locker room side eyes. This is triggering a full-blown identity crisis for the Cleveland Browns. What does this team even stand for anymore? Is it about development? Winning now? Protecting egos? Because from the outside looking in, it's giving chaos in a suit. Let's be real, quarterback controversies aren't rare in the NFL. But what's happening in Cleveland? This isn't your standard QB carousel. This is sabotage with a playbook. Let's go back to Shatter Sanders. He's not just a young talent with promise. He's a proven leader with a track record of stepping up under pressure. His reads? Sharp. His mobility? Game-changing. His presence on the field? Electric. Every time fans think he's going to get a real shot, Stefanski slams the door shut and sends out Gabriel instead. And that's not just frustrating, it's confusing. Dillon Gabriel has been fine in moments. But fine isn't enough when your season's on the line. Especially not when the team keeps collapsing after the first quarter, like clockwork. The scripted plays are rehearsed to death, and once the defense adjusts, it's like the Browns forgot how to play football. Again. So the question becomes, why not Sanders? If it's not performance, if it's not injury, if it's not attitude, what is it? That's what's really lighting up the fan base. People can deal with losing, if there's a plan. If the team's building toward something. But this feels like a coach so deep in his own system that he's willing to ignore the obvious in favor of the familiar. And that's where the accusations of bias start to creep in. The whispers have turned into full-volume debates. Is Stefanski playing favorites? Is this personal? Does he just not believe in Sanders? Or is he too afraid to admit that his guy, Dillon Gabriel, just isn't it? Because let's be honest, it takes ego to keep doubling down on a strategy that clearly isn't working. And then there's the media. Let's not pretend this is happening in a vacuum. Local coverage has started to feel suspiciously filtered. Analysts towing the line, narratives that read more like PR statements than sports commentary. The criticism is there, but it's muted, wrapped in disclaimers, as if there's a script everyone's expected to follow. And when media starts sounding like management, that's when fans start asking the real questions. Is the organization trying to control the narrative? Is there pressure from above to push Gabriel? Is someone protecting Stefanski? Or is he just being stubborn on his own? It's all speculation. But when transparency disappears, speculation is all people have. And in the absence of answers, the frustration just keeps growing. Because from the fans' perspective, it feels like the Browns are choosing politics over performance. Every week that Sanders doesn't start is another week that this team wastes one of its best weapons. And with each loss, the locker room morale chips away. Guys start second-guessing the coaching. Fans start checking out. And the momentum you worked so hard to build in the offseason? Gone. All while the rest of the league watches. And make no mistake, other teams are watching. Other coaches are watching. When Mike Vrabel called Stefanski a gimmick coach, that wasn't just shade. That was a warning. A reminder that in this league, respect is earned weekly. And right now, Stefanski's stock is dropping faster than the Browns' second-half offense. What's even worse? This was avoidable. Stefanski had every opportunity to silence the critics. Bench Gabriel, start Sanders, shake up the scheme, do something. Instead, he stayed the course straight into the iceberg. And now, the Browns are taking on water with no lifeboat in sight. What makes this sting even more is how familiar it all feels. This isn't the first time Cleveland has had talent on the roster and no direction from leadership. This franchise has been haunted by what could have been for decades. And just when it felt like they were turning the page, here we are again, watching a team unravel because the people in charge refuse to adjust. There's a pattern here. And Stefanski? He's not breaking it. He's continuing it. And the fan base? They've had it. Browns fans are some of the most loyal, die-hard people in football. They've endured it all, losing streaks, coaching changes, quarterback disasters. But this particular brand of frustration? Watching your team choose failure by ignoring obvious talent? That cuts deep. Because now it's not about rebuilding. It's about mismanagement. And people are noticing. Former players, insiders, analysts, they're all circling the story like sharks. They know this kind of drama doesn't just fade away. It builds. It explodes. It leaves a stain. And here's the wild part. Stefanski still has time to turn it around. He still has Sanders. He still has a defense that can keep them in games. He still has a chance to prove that he's more than just a scripted first-quarter coach with a rigid game plan. But that window is shrinking by the day. And every press conference where he deflects, every game where he sticks with Gabriel, every moment he lets his ego override common sense, it's another nail in the coffin of his credibility. He's not just coaching a team anymore. He's defending a reputation. And when that becomes the focus, you're not leading, you're surviving. The Browns don't need survival. They need leadership. They need clarity. They need someone who's willing to say, I got it wrong, and here's how we fix it. But that version of Stefanski still hasn't shown up. And let's not pretend this is just an internal drama. This affects the whole league. Because when teams like the Browns waste talent, it distorts competition. It denies fans the matchups they deserve. It turns potential showdowns into one-sided blowouts. The league thrives on parity, on seeing stars rise. And when someone like Sanders is left to rot on the bench, it's not just a coaching misstep, it's a failure of the whole system. Mike Vrabel's words might have sounded harsh, but in hindsight, they hit a little too close to home. Because if Stefanski's system only works when everything goes exactly as planned, if it can't handle adjustments, if it can't evolve, then what else is it, if not a gimmick? Right now, that label is starting to stick. And it's not just from one angry coach. It's from a growing chorus of voices who've seen enough. Fans, analysts, players. Everyone is asking the same question. How much longer does this go on? How many more games get thrown away before someone steps in? Before Sanders finally gets the start he's earned? Before someone in the organization admits that sticking with the plan just because it's the plan is no longer an option? And when that moment comes, because it will come, what will Stefanski have left? A locker room that doesn't trust him? A fan base that's over it? A season that could have been something? Or maybe, just maybe, he pulls the trigger, makes the hard call, starts Sanders, and proves he can still lead. But until then, the storm rages on. And every week he waits, that gimmick label feels less like an insult and more like a job description. So if you're watching this and screaming at your screen, same. If you're still clinging to the give him time defense for Stefanski, how much time is enough? Because we're not in week 2. This isn't preseason. We're deep into the season, and nothing's changed. The same stubborn decisions, the same lifeless second halves, and the same quarterback who clearly doesn't have the juice to carry this team. There is no more grace period. No more let's see how it develops. It's developed. This is the product. And it's not working. And let's not pretend the locker room isn't feeling it. These players know what's up. You think they're blind to who's performing at practice? You think they don't see the spark that Sanders brings every time he gets even a sliver of a chance? Morale doesn't fall apart because of losses alone. It crumbles when the people in the building lose faith in leadership. When it feels like the decisions being made aren't about winning, but about control. That's the vibe in Cleveland right now. Like this is more about a coach trying to prove he's right than doing what's best for the team. And once it gets to that point, you've already lost the plot. Let's talk real consequences. If this quarterback fiasco continues, and make no mistake, it is a fiasco, how long before key players start checking out? Not publicly, of course, but mentally, quietly. How long before the defense stops going 110% because they know no matter what they do, the offense is going to stall out in the third quarter? This is how locker rooms splinter. This is how seasons spiral. And if you think Cleveland fans are going to keep showing up week after week to watch their team get kneecapped by coaching choices, they won't. They've seen this movie before, and they're over it. Remember, this is a city that bleeds for its football team. A fan base that has stuck around through every kind of heartbreak you can imagine. Blown leads, winless seasons, franchise drama, quarterback bingo. And now here they are again, watching their team get sabotaged by its own head coach. It's not just disappointment, it's betrayal. Because when you have a generational talent like Shatter Sanders sitting on the bench, game after game, with no explanation, it's not just a bad call. It's insulting. And here's the kicker. It's not like starting Sanders would be some massive gamble. He's not some raw rookie who's never seen the field. He's a composed, confident leader who's shown time and again that he can handle pressure, adjust on the fly, and elevate the people around him. That's exactly what this team is missing. But instead, Stefanski keeps rolling out Dylan Gabriel. Again and again. And each time, the results are the same. Predictable. Flat. Frustrating. It's like watching a loop. And not a good one. You'd almost think it was personal. That's how bizarre it's gotten. And that's what people are latching onto. It doesn't feel like football anymore. It feels like a power struggle. Like Stefanski is determined to make the Gabriel experiment work just to avoid admitting he got it wrong. And look, there's pride in this league. No one wants to admit failure. But there's a line between pride and delusion. And right now, Stefanski's dancing on that line like it's the 50-yard mark. It would be one thing if this was just a tough patch. If the team was growing through it, learning, evolving. But that's not happening. The Browns are regressing. The offense is stuck. The decision-making is getting worse. The frustration is boiling over. And the worst part? This whole thing could have been avoided. All Stefanski had to do was pivot. One decision. One lineup change. Start Sanders. Reset the offense. Inject some energy. Show the players and the fans that you're willing to adapt. But nope. He chose stubbornness. He chose control. He chose gimmicks. And now, the spotlight is unforgiving. Mike Vrabel's words weren't just trash talk. They were a mirror. And what they reflected was a coach so wrapped up in his system that he can't even see the cliff he's heading toward. Or maybe he sees it, and he just thinks he'll survive the fall. But here's the thing. The NFL doesn't wait for coaches to figure it out. The NFL moves fast. And when you stall, when you ignore talent, when you alienate the very people you're supposed to lead, the league moves on. Stefanski's not just risking his season. He's risking his reputation. Because in a league where perception shapes everything, being labeled a gimmick coach is career poison. That label follows you. It defines you. And right now, it's sticking to him like glue. And let's not sugarcoat it. He earned it. This isn't just about Vrabel's insult. This is about a string of decisions that got exposed the second the script ran out. When the real coaching started, Stefanski had nothing. No second gear. No counterpunch. No vision beyond the first drive. And people noticed. Fans. Players. Other coaches. Media. Everyone. And that's what makes this so much worse. It's not just about a failed game plan. It's about what it reveals. The lack of trust. The lack of growth. The lack of awareness. That's the thing about karma. It doesn't wait for the end of the season. Sometimes it hits right in the middle of the mess, while everyone's still pretending things are fine. And that's exactly what happened here. Stefanski got called out and then proved a point. Now the only question left is how long Cleveland lets this go on. How many more games get sacrificed at the altar of ego? How many more excuses before someone steps in and says enough? Because the way things are going, this isn't going to fix itself. There's no magical turnaround coming. Not unless the Browns shake off the gimmick and start making real, bold, uncomfortable decisions. And if they don't, then they'll stay exactly where they are, stuck in a cycle of self-inflicted disaster, clinging to a coach who's more concerned with being right than with winning. So let's hear it. Drop your take in the comments. Should Shatter Sanders be the starter already? Has Kevin Stefanski worn out his welcome in Cleveland? Or do you think there's still time to salvage this mess? If you're as fed up with the chaos as the rest of us, hit that like button. Share this with every Browns fan who's been screaming at the TV. And make sure you're subscribed. We're tracking every twist, every meltdown, and every dramatic turn this NFL season delivers. Because in Cleveland, the drama's just getting started.